Hello and welcome to the MJ Take on Sports Fan Entertainment. Well, I was live for the 2017 NBA Draft. Okay, I tried to display, not the NBA Draft, the NBA Draft Lottery. I tried to display the result of the lottery, and I did. But then the audio decided to cut out. I guess the NBA and the powers that be said, no, you will not show this to the people. But I'm here to talk about the results of the lottery. And let's start by talking about my team before we talk about the Boston Celtics. But before I do that really quick, let me go send the link to this stream to the other live stream that people are still in, because people are still in that. And they don't know that I've currently moved on to a new live stream. YouTube trying to hold me down. My mic just decided to cut out. I was so pissed off about it. Why I can't even find my own live stream. Where is it? I don't know where it is. If you're in this right now, I don't know where you guys are. I'm trying to figure out where everybody is right now. I don't know what's going on. Let me figure out what's going on. Somehow people are watching this. Okay, so I'm in here. Okay, good. I see this. And let me send the link to the people. Oh, geez. YouTube holding me down. Trying to screw a brother up, man. This is some racist BS. I can't even send a link in my own stream? What a bunch of junk. Okay, hopefully those people figure out what the hell is going on, but I can't keep worrying about this. Hello, and welcome to the 2017 NBA Draft Lottery post coverage. If you're here somehow, thank you for joining me on this second stream of the evening. I completely blew my live stream, my live coverage of the NBA Draft Lottery, but we live and we learn, and hopefully I have learned. Now, with that said, let's discuss the NBA Draft Lottery. And let's talk about the Lakers first, because I want to talk about the Lakers first. So the Lakers get the number 2 pick, and everyone's going to say that it's rigged, right? How on earth could the third worst team in the NBA, they were the third worst team in the NBA. How the hell did the third worst team in the NBA get the second pick? It's rigged. It's rigged. They were the third worst. They were the third worst team. They deserved the damn pick. If they were the 7th or the 8th or the 9th, we can have a conversation today. But when the third worst team in the entire NBA gets the second pick, shut up, period. What the hell? Are you pissed off that the Boston Celtics got the number 1 pick? That's rigged, right? How could the worst team get the first pick? That's so rigged. Shut up. You know who it was rigged for, if you're going to make any argument? It was actually rigged for the 76ers, right? Because the 76ers ended up getting a top pick via the Sacramento Kings, which it wasn't even their own pick. So it was kind of rigged for them more than anything, if it was rigged at all, and it wasn't. So I don't want to hear about, oh, it's so rigged. All right, now here's the situation for the Los Angeles Lakers. And unfortunately, to me, it's an unfortunate situation, as they're going to pick Lonzo Ball. And I'm not happy about it. And I don't know how anyone could be happy about it, because he's not the second best prospect in this draft. And it's going to be a show, man. You're going to hear LeVar Ball in LA, LeVar Ball in LA. Okay. And I'm not going to love that. But look, he'll be good. My question is, how good? Okay. He's not going to be our guy. We're going to need more pieces around Lonzo Ball if we're ever going to win an NBA championship with this guy. Okay? So, look, you can take Lonzo Ball, and they will. I think Josh Jackson will be better. I think he's going to be better. I think he's going to be at the level of a Jimmy Butler, maybe even of a Kawhi Leonard, and you're going to pass on that. And they're passing on that. I already know. It's already confirmed. They're going to take Lonzo Ball, okay? So Lonzo Ball is going to be a Laker, and I'm not that thrilled about it. Like, the Lakers have now had the second overall pick for the third straight year. And again, people say, oh, well, that's why it's so rigged. Yeah, think about it this way. I want you to go count up the amount of wins every team in the NBA has had over the last 3 years. Who's been the worst team? The 76ers. Who's been the second worst team? The Lakers. They've been bad. They've been bad to the point to where they've deserved this. They've earned this. They've been horrible. They've earned this. So now they're going to have the second overall pick for the third straight year. And of all these picks, this is the one I'm least excited for. I was more excited for Brandon Ingram and D'Angelo Russell. I was most excited for D'Angelo Russell. And Ingram, I was really excited for him too. Lonzo Ball, I know what he's going to be at this point. And I mean, it'll be fun. You can make the argument that it's going to help Brandon Ingram and D'Angelo Russell, but I don't even think as much as many people think that he will. Again, Lonzo Ball really does a good job of finding players in transition, not really in half-court offense. And Brandon Ingram and D'Angelo Russell aren't the biggest transition guys. Julius Randle, he's going to be the one that really benefits from Lonzo Ball. That's the player that's really going to benefit. Brandon Ingram is more of an ISO player, and he can catch off the ball and then, for like, let's say, an easy lay-in or a dunk or whatever, but he's really an ISO player. And then D'Angelo Russell is really an ISO player. So I don't think when everyone says, well, Lonzo Ball is going to make the Lakers better, it's going to be great. Look at the personnel. It doesn't match. If Lonzo Ball was playing for the Phoenix Suns, I'd buy that because Devin Booker, he can be off the ball and then just be a catch-and-shoot type guy. Who's the catch-and-shoot guy in the Lakers right now? Who the hell is a catch-and-shoot guy on the Lakers? Who? Jordan Clarkson? That's the most catch-and-shoot you're going to get. D'Angelo Russell can do it. I'm not saying he can't, but he's an ISO player. That's what he likes. That's how he likes to play. So that's why I'm hesitant to say, oh, great, we have Lonzo Ball. It's going to be so great. And then he's not going to be that guy because I still think we need a 25-point-per-game guy. I think D'Angelo Russell can work his way up to 20, maybe 21 or 22 at most, but who's going to be 25? And as I said earlier in this program, you need a guy who's going to get you 25. If you want to win the NBA championship, you need 25 plus, unless if you build a completely defensive team like the Detroit Pistons of 2004, to where everyone's defensive and you can get away with Chauncey Billups averaging 18 or 19 because you have Ben Wallace averaging 18 or 19, you have Rip Hamilton averaging about 16, and you have Rasheed Wallace averaging about 17. So everyone's even and it's great, but I doubt that's the case, or that's going to be the case. But hey, we've added another player here. And this opens up a possibility for trade. And honestly, they're not going to do this. I think they're going to take Lonzo Ball, and that's going to be it. But I would trade this pick for Paul George. I would trade it straight up. If they want it, good. I'm ready for that. I think Paul George is going to be better than Lonzo Ball. I have no problem with that. When we look back upon their careers, I think he's going to be better. I have no problem with that. Again, I liked Jason Kidd growing up, but Jason Kidd, he was never going to win an NBA championship. Like, he led the Nets to nice places, but even with Richard Jefferson and Vince Carter, he couldn't win. Okay? With Richard Jefferson, Vince Carter. Lonzo Ball, even as the third best player, I'm not sure if you're going to win an NBA championship with Lonzo Ball, unless you have a LeBron or Dwayne Wade type player, a top 5 player in the NBA who's an absolute dog, alpha male, take the last shot, ISO scorer, scoring off the ball, off the dribble type of guy. Okay, I'm not sure if that's going to be Lonzo Ball. I don't think that's going to be Lonzo Ball. So with that said, let me go get my charger because my laptop's about to die, and we'll talk about the Boston Celtics. Okay, The Rock is back. Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? All right, I want to read in the chat real quick just to see what you guys are saying about this. I'm sure some of you guys disagree, and I'd love to disagree. I mean, I would want nothing more than Lonzo Ball to be an absolute star, an absolute stud, but I just don't think he's going to be that guy. I don't know how anyone can see him being that guy. You know, he's just going to be like Jason Kidd. Maybe, he can be Steve Nash, maybe. But Steve Nash won 2 MVPs, and that's nice. But he didn't come close to an NBA Finals. He didn't get to an NBA Finals. And did he only get to 1 or 2 Western Conference Finals? I know he lost to the Lakers in 1. Did he even get to face the Spurs in one? I can't even remember, right? So, I mean, that's my problem with Lonzo Ball. You know, I mean, he's just not a scorer, dude. And you need to score. Now, here's the one thing I will admit. I recognize that Magic Johnson's great. And I did not watch Magic Johnson play, honestly. I can go back and watch some highlights and some footage, right? But I really don't know how he, you know, what really made him so impactful, Magic Johnson. I'd love to know, but I really don't know. So perhaps Lonzo Ball will be Magic Johnson. I mean, there's a chance there. I can see that. And Magic Johnson never averaged more than like 23 points per game. I think he averaged throughout his career like 19. So, I mean, that's the one thing that I look at and I say, okay, if he hits that, then that would be great. Because we're just looking for pro comparisons. You know, that's what I'm looking for. And when I look at Lonzo Ball pro comparisons, I look at John Stockton, Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, and none of those guys were good enough to win alone. Not even close. Every single one of those guys, in order to win, would have to be the third best player. Stockton was the second. They didn't win. Steve Nash was the first. You could argue. Amari was the bigger scorer there, and they had multiple scorers. I mean, they had Raja Bell, who was doing crap at that point, Leandro Barbosa, Sean Marion, and they couldn't win. Okay, so that was my problem there with Steve Nash. And then Jason Kidd, he had Richard Jefferson and Vince Carter, and he still couldn't win. I think Lonzo Ball is that type of guy. I think he's only a piece. And I'm saying, is he only going to be Rajon Rondo? You know, he could only be Rajon Rondo, but with a 3-point shot that I question. But you know what? Hey, I'm going to talk about this probably in a separate video because I want to get more views. So with that in mind, let's move on to the Celtics now, okay? So the Celtics were the #1 pick. And is this the third straight year that the team with the highest probability has gotten the first overall pick? Yes, it is. So it's the third straight year in which the team with the highest chance to win the lottery has won the lottery, which is really statistically improbable. I'll tell you right now, the odds of that happening, I can't tell you, but it's about 5% chance. So they beat the odds and they got it done. And remember, the last time it happened before the Timberwolves was back in 2004, I want to say, with the Orlando Magic. So it's not supposed to happen, but it's been happening lately. I will go ahead and predict that next year it won't happen. I'll just predict that right now. But, hey, it could happen again. The Celtics win it. They're going to get Markelle Fultz if they're smart, and I'm sure they are, right? And he's going to make an impact for their basketball team. You know, put him at the 2 guard next to Isaiah Thomas and let them work. You know, I've seen some people saying, no, Fultz needs to be a 1 guard. And look, Fultz has impact as a #1 guard, as a point guard in the NBA. Some people really undersell his ability to pass the basketball. This is a guy that's actually a very good passer, had a higher assist percentage and turnover percentage, or lower turnover percentage, than Lonzo Ball, which means he looks to pass more than Lonzo Ball. One of the reasons why is Lonzo Ball, he's gonna bring up the ball at the court. He's either gonna find someone in transition, or he's just gonna pass somebody else to set up the offense. He's not gonna run pick and roll. I mean, Lonzo Ball really doesn't do much offensively, guys. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Markelle Fultz, on the other hand, is a guy who can bring up the ball at the court, and then at that point, he really facilitates the offense in half court. Lonzo Ball either throws to someone in transition, or I mean, that's pretty much it. They'll do some ball movement type stuff. He may be able to find a big, throw an alley-oop in the, down low or something like that. But Markelle Fultz, to me, is actually the better half-court passer than Lonzo Ball. Half-court offense, it's Markelle Fultz. In the NBA, more so than the college basketball, is a half-court league. Okay, that's where they make most of their money. So I love Fultz. He's going to go #1. He deserves to go #1. The Celtics are they're seemingly set, but I will say seemingly, because I still think they have some work to do. First of all, Fultz won't really be good enough to be an integral part of a championship team until at least, I will say, 2 years, right? You just can't expect this guy to come in as a rookie and then be an integral and a huge part of a championship team. That's too much. I'll tell you right now, rookie season, he'll average maybe 15, which is pretty good. You know, maybe he can get up to 16 or 17, but I'll predict right now 15. I'll predict 15, maybe 16. And then the year after that, okay, maybe then he gets to 20. Then he really, ascends, and by then he could be an integral part. But then from there, I don't really love the Celtics roster. I mean, they're able to win games, and I like the young guys and Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown, but not really as huge pieces moving forward. I know some of you guys like Jaylen Brown. I'm not a huge fan of Jaylen Brown. So I still think they have some work to do, and it's fine, right? Because next year they get to swap picks with the Brooklyn Nets, and then they get another high pick, most likely. Unless the Nets somehow do something this year, which is impossible because they don't have a damn draft pick. Well, now they have one that they traded for via the Washington Wizards, but that's not until pick 22. So they're not going to have a high draft pick. They're going to stink again, and the Celtics will have yet another high pick. Maybe not the number one, but at that point, but another high pick. And then next year, you're looking at two huge centers coming out in Mohamed Bamba and DeAndre Ayton, right? And I draft one of those guys. And Al Horford can move to power forward to me. And then you have something brewing there. So I still think there's work to be done because if you want to beat LeBron, and that's the task, you're going to need a little more than Isaiah Thomas and Markelle Fultz. And Al Horford, look, he wasn't even great this season, and he's getting even older. So don't expect Al Horford to be a huge piece moving forward to me. Or at least you don't want him to be. I think in order for you to win, he's going to have to be your third or fourth best player. I say fourth best player in order for you to beat LeBron James. I say fourth, because he's going to be 33, 34 years old. So that's my thoughts on that. And I like the Boston Celtics moving forward. How can you not? So Lakers number 2, 76ers number 3, right? Oh, and also someone asked about Avery Bradley. Come on. How old is Avery Bradley at this point? He's not an integral piece. Jay Crowder, same thing. Kelly Olynyk, same thing. They're not integral pieces. You need another huge piece. Who's going to be your Klay Thompson? Who's going to be your Kevin Love? Who's going to be your Andrew Bynum? Who's going to be, another big piece? You need another big piece to me if you're going to get it done. I love Brad Stevens as coach, but that's only going to take you so far. You want to beat LeBron freaking James, dog. You want to beat their big three? LeBron, Kyrie, Kevin Love? You need a big three. So I like Isaiah Thomas. I like Markelle Fultz, who's number 3. It ain't Al Horford. Now, you can tell me, hey, DeAndre Ayton, Mohamed Bamba, okay, we can maybe draft Michael Porter if you want to draft a small forward. If you don't like Jaylen Brown next year, okay. Don't tell me about Avery Bradley. Okay, he's only 26, but look, come on, he's not an integral piece. He's a nice defender. He can be to you what Danny Green was to the San Antonio Spurs. A nice piece, good defender. Green more of a three-point shooter, but a nice piece, but nothing more than that. He's just not integral. He's not part of the big three, and you really need a big three to beat LeBron, okay, at least. Okay, so you may need even more than that. Through a big three last year, Draymond didn't even get it done. So I look at these things, and I say the Celtics still need a big piece, and you're going to have a couple next year. You have Michael Porter, Mohamed Bamba, DeAndre Ayton. Look at one of those big boys, bring them in, let them do their thing. Booyah. Okay, so from there, let's talk about the 76ers. Okay, so they earn a top 3 pick via the Sacramento Kings, right? And for the Kings, this is unfortunate, but this is why you don't make terrible deals. They traded away, I think they traded away Nick Stauskas, and somehow the 76ers were still able to get that ability to swap, a ridiculous deal. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. A terrible deal at the time, and this is why they stink. One of the reasons why they stink. Although, I will make this quick aside. Remember when I told y'all about this trade, about this DeMarcus Cousins trade? I told you, look, I don't care. I thought it was a good move at the time for the Sacramento Kings, and you're starting to kind of see why, because now you saw Buddy Hield. This guy ended up averaging 10 points for his rookie season. He really came along late. I want to say he averaged 15 points per game that last month of the season. He's going to be a nice guard moving forward. He could be a starting shooting guard for this basketball team. Now they also pick up now they're going to have a high draft pick this year. I want to say 5th. They're going to end up picking and 10th, 5th and 10th. Okay, that could be freaking De'Aaron Fox at number 5, and then number 10. It could be Zach Collins, Lauri Markkanen, or something like that. You're talking about Buddy Hield, De'Aaron Fox, Lauri Markkanen. That's a nice freaking thing there. And then also you saw late in the season, Skal Labissière able to do some things. I love the trade for the Kings. DeMarcus Cousins was never going to lead that team to an NBA championship. Now I see a path and a road for this team to get there. I see a path. I did not see a path before. You're talking about the Kings having some nice picks now, man. And, next year they're going to stink only because they're young, not necessarily because the talent is bad. Like, look at the Timberwolves this year. We all know Andrew Wiggins and Karl-Anthony Towns are freaking good. And Zach LaVine. And they were awful. They're still bad. So the Kings will be bad next year. They're going to get another high pick. You're talking about having 5 young players, growing players of high draft capital and value in Buddy Hield, whoever they take at number 5 this year, whoever they take at number 10 this year, and then Scalabrine, who wasn't high draft capital, but he's showing you nice things. And then next year, whoever you take in the 2018 draft. Talking about 5 big players. I love that trade for the Sacramento Kings. And I'm telling you, in 3 years, you will understand why. Because now there is a path. With DeMarcus Cousins, there was no path. Now there is a path for the Sacramento Kings. Now, the one argument you can make, there's no argument, actually. I won't even buy any argument. The only argument you can say is that DeMarcus Cousins, if they had him, they could draft some better talent around him. But they've been trying to do that. And it hasn't worked out. Now there's a visible, tangible, real path for the Sacramento Kings to go to the NBA championship. And I have no problem with the Kings making that deal. And the New Orleans, they still have, to me, it was still a good deal for them because they get DeMarcus Cousins and they didn't need to pick in the top 10 this year anyway. So I love the trade for both teams, but I really loved it for the Kings because now, again, you're going to see them now have Buddy Hield, who averaged 10 points per game his rookie season. Next year will average 15 at least. You're going to have the De'Aaron Fox or Malik Monk or somebody, and Lauri Markkanen and Zach Collins and somebody next year, maybe adding a Mohamed Bamba or somebody. You're going to see a nice team in Sacramento. Just give it 3 years. So for the 76ers, picking number 3, Josh Jackson. I think it has to be Josh Jackson. I think it will be Josh Jackson. Well, actually, I won't say that. Beyond Fultz and Ball, I won't say nothing. Actually, I'm going to say nothing because there's still uncertainty. These teams still have to work these players out, talk to them and whatnot, and figure out what the hell they want to do. So I'm not going to say it will be Jackson, but it should be Jackson. They could also consider Jason Tatum. If they want to have a scoring forward to put near Ben Simmons, they could do that. They're saying that they're planning on playing Ben Simmons at point guard. I think that's dumb. Look, he can play point guard, but put him at power forward and then let him be a point forward. Put him at point guard, and that's just dumb to me. He's not going to be able to guard point guards. He had to have somebody that guards point guard, so put him at power forward. And he has some post ability. You put him in the post, you let him eat. He was able to do that plenty of times over in LSU. So put him at power forward. So let's say they have that lineup of Ben Simmons there. They still have to trade Jahlil Okafor. But they have Ben Simmons at power forward. Center, they have Joel Embiid, assuming they're healthy, which is a huge assumption with this fucking team. Jason Tatum or Josh Jackson at small forward. Screw Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot, okay? He's a nice guy. Screw him, right? If you have Jason Tatum or Josh Jackson coming in, screw Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot, okay? So I don't want to hear about this guy. And then shooting guard, they still have a need. So they could consider Malik Monk instead of Josh Jackson. And that would be fine to me because I like Malik Monk. I really like Malik Monk. And he makes sense because, again, he's that off-the-ball type of shooting guard. Can work off the ball, spot up shooter, catch and shoot type guy. Ben Simmons can find him, out in the wing, and then also can find Joel Embiid down low. You like that. Okay, it makes sense. So the 76ers have options. Sixers fans, for those of you in the comments, tell me what you guys think they're going to do. Would they go Josh Jackson? Would they go Jason Tatum? Will they go Malik Monk, De'Aaron Fox? Also possible, but I wouldn't. Fox I like, but I just without having any outside shot, and I don't see it really developing because I really don't like his form. And he shot like 29%, I want to say. I don't know. I don't think that bodes well at all for his three-point percentage down the road, but we shall see. Let's move on to the Phoenix Suns, who picked number 4. They were the second worst team, but they picked number 4. Look, sometimes it happens. This is the NBA lottery. It's what happens. But you're still going to get a small forward if you really want one, right? The TJ Warren is a nice player, but he came back at the end of last season and he really wasn't impressive as he was early on this season. So I'm looking at them to take whoever remains of Jason Tatum or Josh Jackson, if one of them remain. If both of them remain, pick whichever one they like. And if for some ungodly reason Lonzo Ball's there, then maybe take him. But I highly doubt Ball would be there. But hey, let's consider it anyway. Then they would definitely take him. So the Suns will have options. De'Aaron Fox, I wouldn't go that route. I'm not sure De'Aaron Fox will ever be better than Eric Bledsoe. I'm not sure about that. So I'd stick with your Bledsoe and Devin Booker backcourt before I drafted De'Aaron Fox. That's what I would personally do. Although Bledsoe doesn't have many years left. So, I mean, I can understand that argument. But, yeah, I think I would stick with that backcourt duo if I were them instead of drafting a De'Aaron Fox. Malik Monk, I would you can't consider him. Even though I really like him, you just cannot consider him because you just have Devin Booker there, and they're just way too similar. So you just can't consider that. Although Devin Booker is more of an on-the-ball type guy now, but Malik Monk was a more on-the-ball type guy coming out of college as prospect. So you can project Monk to be more of an off-the-dribble guy in the NBA than Booker in a couple years. And then from there, you have a problem. So I wouldn't go down that road if I were them. Not Orlando Magic. Then we have the Sacramento Kings at number 5. So depends who they like. Again, if you're talking to people within the organization, they could like different guys than we think they're going to like. Like we could say, okay, yeah, they will take, Dennis Smith or De'Aaron Fox. I mean, I like Fox, and if he goes there, that's fine, right? They could use a point guard, so it makes sense to me. Yeah, I'd be fine with that. But I think if one of those small forwards is available, take them. If for some reason the Suns pass on the small forwards and the Sixers pass on the small forwards, to me, take De'Aaron Fox or take one of those small forwards before you take De'Aaron Fox. But if Fox is there, that's fine. Magic picking at number 6. The Magic are stuck, dog. And to me, the only one that's going to take you out of that is Malik Monk, who, again, I'm going to pound the table for Malik Monk. I think this is where me and Skip Bayless may actually see eye to eye because I will pound the table for Malik Monk this upcoming draft season. I love Malik Monk. His upside is through the freaking roof, guys. Maybe he'll only be J.R. Smith, but he could be much, much more than that. You're talking about just rare ability to not only shoot, but to have exceptional athleticism. You know what it's like to combine exceptional athleticism and explosiveness with shooting ability and how dangerous that can be in the NBA? Imagine if Bradley Beal could posterize folks. Imagine if Klay Thompson could posterize folks, could leap up in the air and win the dunk contest. You know how dangerous those guys would be? Malik Monk's a better prospect than those guys were. He's a better prospect than C.J. McCollum, Bradley Beal, and Klay Thompson were. So you know how dangerous this guy is? My goodness. Okay, so I'm looking out for this guy. I think this guy could be really good, and I'm considering putting him over Lonzo Ball, and maybe he's going to be my third best prospect. Because right now it's Ball, but I'm really liking Monk, man. And of all of these prospects, he has that dog in him, okay? Fox has it too. Fox, he showed it in that UCLA game. They both have dogs in them. In the fourth quarter, they'll show up for you, boy. They'll knock it down. They'll have that Jordan, that Kobe mentality to take over the game and win it late for you, and that is valuable, very valuable, I would say. Tatum has some of that as well. Ball has none of that because he just is not an off-the-dribble guy, and that's one thing that concerns me about him. Jackson has some of that too, but not as much as I would like. Fultz has enough of that. But I think Monk and Fox really have that dog in him. So you're talking about at picks 5, 6, 7, you could really pick up a dog, an alpha dog, which is nice for teams like the Kings and the Magic. The Timberwolves at number 7. Everyone's been slotting Jonathan Isaac to them, and it makes sense, right? They need a power forward. He's a power forward, small forward, power forward. So it makes sense to slot him there. But, to me, if I'm them, I'm considering Dennis Smith. Now, I like Dennis Smith. Chris Dunn didn't do much his rookie year. I'm prepared to take another point guard. I am. They probably won't, but I think it'd be a mistake because I think Isaac, he still has a lot of things to work on while Smith is ready to go, and he can be a nice piece of this team even early on. So I look at Dennis Smith, but they probably won't. New York Knicks. If no one takes Dennis Smith, you got to take Dennis Smith to me, okay? or De'Aaron Fox. Whatever point guard's there. If somehow Tatum falls, take him. If somehow Monk falls, take him. Right? I think the Knicks are in a very good position. Someone's going to fall to them, and they're going to be good. As long as you do the smart thing and take him, you'll be fine. So I like the Knicks there. And then you could have, a nice pairing with Kristaps Porzingis, and then maybe even Carmelo if he stays there, but only God knows if he's going to stay there. Dallas Mavericks at number 9. You could take Lauri Markkanen to take over for Dirk. You could also take Zach Collins to take over for Dirk, although Collins is a bit more of a center. And then that's pretty much it. And then number 10, Sacramento Kings, probably taking Zach Collins. I think the top 10 of this draft is definite. In some order, you will have Markelle Fultz, Lonzo Ball, Josh Jackson, Jason Tatum, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, Jonathan Isaac, Dennis Smith, Lauri Markkanen, and Zach Collins. After that is where the uncertainty comes in. But I really don't see anyone else going in the top 10 except for possibly Frank Tili. How do you say his name? Tilikina out of France. I think it's how you pronounce it. Tilikina. I think the N is silent. Perhaps he goes top 10. Let's say the Kings pass on a point guard at number 5. They want to take one at number 10. You can see that happening. But other than that, I don't see anyone going to top 10 other than those guys. So no Donovan Mitchell, no OG Anunoby, whatever, how you pronounce his last name. No Justin Jackson, no Luke Kennard, no Jared Allen, no John Collins, no Ivan Rabb. No, okay, no. Again, just some more Laker talk, but I'll make a separate video on this actually because I want to get more views. I'm happy, right? We're going to get Lonzo Ball, and I think it's going to be a huge mistake. I think I'll tell you right now, if Mitch Kupchak was on the Lakers right now, we would not take Lonzo Ball. We'd take Josh Jackson, and we'd be a better team for it. Mitch Kupchak made some mistakes the past couple years, namely taking or signing Luol Deng and Timofey Mozgov, which is just ridiculous, horrible decisions by Mitch Kupchak. But in terms of drafting, he always kind of did the right thing. The one thing you can look at and say he did not do correctly is that he took D'Angelo Russell over Kristaps Porzingis. But I don't think that discussion is over yet because Porzingis did not play great at the end of last season, and Russell still has a lot of potential remaining within him. So perhaps Russell surpasses Porzingis in years to come. That wouldn't shock me. Okay, so I'm still looking at that, and I'm saying, hey, man, Mitch Kupchak's pretty good. It's just those horrible free agency signings that really piss me off, and they're just terrible. You just can't defend them. So the Lakers, man, you're gonna get Lonzo Ball, and then I'm looking at pick 28. Right, the Lakers acquired the pick of the Houston Rockets. They traded Lou Williams to the Houston Rockets. They've received a 20th overall pick, and I'm looking at upside. I just want upside, and I'm looking at 2 guys: Harry Giles. Okay, the guy that was a top 5, recruit coming out of high school, went to Duke, didn't play because coming off the ACL and didn't do much. I'm looking at him. Look, at pick 28, just take upside, dude. Trust me. You can take high upside guys. You're going to do well. I mean, they could completely bust and not do anything, but it's better than taking a guy like who's like a Tyus Jones. Who's really just going to be a complete backup. You can find a backup. If you really want a damn backup point guard, just go sign one in damn free agency. The Harry Giles and Hamidou Diallo. I think that's how you pronounce his name. The guy that had the 44.5-inch vertical at the combine. I'll take this guy. I want this guy. He didn't play last year. I don't care. That's upside, okay? First of all, he has upside as he freaking jumps 44 inches. And then anyone that can do that has upside, dog. And Zach LaVine is a guy that coming out of UCLA was not ready to go at all. And I did not like Zach LaVine as a prospect because I knew he wasn't ready to go. Why has he been able to do well? Because he has so much damn upside to the point where he finally started figuring things out and ended up being really good. Same goes for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Sometimes you have to bet on upside, especially later on in the draft. So we're talking about pick 28. I want Harry Giles or Hamidou Diallo. Okay, now you can take someone else, and I won't be pissed off, but those are the 2 that I'm looking at, and I'm saying I want these guys because I see huge upside with both of these guys, just huge athletes that hopefully you can develop. You could take like a Bam Adebayo out of Kentucky, and he'll be a nice backup, like Reggie Evans type power forward for you, but I want to bet on upside, so that's what I would look at there. So with that said, any thoughts, any comments, any questions, any concerns on the NBA draft lottery? Again, we're going to see People saying that, oh, this is rigged. The Lakers got the number 2 pick. Oh, it's so rigged. How dare the number 3 worst team in the NBA get the number 2 pick? How the hell could that happen? That's some BS. Can y'all believe that? Can y'all believe that the team with the 3rd worst record in the NBA got the number 2 pick? Isn't that just incredible? Isn't that some BS? Come on. Seriously. And remember the year a couple years ago where the Knicks were the worst team in the NBA and they ended up with the 4th pick? Why the hell would the league rig that like that? You don't think they want a star in New York? And this was the year that Karl Anthony Towns and Jahlil Okafor and D'Angelo Russell were coming out. And you told me the league decided, nah, we don't want the Knicks to have one of those 3 guys. We want them to end up getting Porzingis, or some people thought Emmanuel Mudiay was going to go at their time. I thought it was going to go there. No, come on. Can we just stop with this rigged BS? Actually, sit down and look at the statistics. This was not an anomaly. I'll tell you right now, this probably happened, or something along the lines of this scenario happening was one of the more likely scenarios. I mean, the Kings are the only team that vaulted up into the top 3. The Suns moved down 2 spots. The Sixers moved down, I want to say they either moved down like 1 or 2 spots, and that's pretty much it. And then because the Suns moved down, the Lakers moved up, and that was it. And then someone else moved up. The Kings moved up. That's it. Now, only 2 teams moved down, 2 teams moved up. That's the draft lottery. That's the way the statistics work out. People don't want to look at the statistics. And here's another thing, right? Let me ask you this. What was the odds? What was the percentage odds of the Lakers picking 3rd in the draft? Okay, so they were the 3rd worst team in the NBA. Okay, the 3rd worst team. So what was the chances of them picking 3rd? It was 15.6. Okay? What was the odds of them picking 2nd? It was 15.7. Higher than it was picking 3rd, just by 0.1%, but higher. What was the odds of them picking 1st? 15.6. They were just as likely to pick 1st or 2nd as they were 3rd. That's how the NBA lottery set up, people. Y'all don't actually look at it. Y'all maybe don't look at it, or maybe don't understand it. Y'all don't study it. Y'all don't look at it. And then whenever it happens, you're so shocked and you can't believe it and you think it's rigged. They were just as likely to pick 2nd as they were 3rd, as they were 1st. They were just as likely. They were just as likely. So how are we going to be upset because they picked 2nd when they should have picked 3rd, when they were just as likely to pick 2nd than 3rd? They were just as likely. They were even more likely. They were 0.1% chance likely. More likely. And yet people are so upset. It's so rigged. How dare they pick at number 2 when they were just as likely to pick number 2 as they were number 3. They were just as likely. And when it came to the Phoenix Suns, right, people are going to say, oh, the Suns, they fell in the draft, right? This was so unfair. What were the odds of the Suns picking 2nd in the draft? 18.8. What were the odds of them picking 4th? 31.9. They were almost doubly as likely to pick 4th than 2nd. And now they're picking 4th rather than 2nd. Look at the statistics, people. Look at these. Look at these percentages and actually do some data analysis, okay, and say, wait a minute, these actually make sense. Of course, a team that is just as likely to pick 2nd and 3rd, it's not shocking that they're picking 2nd. And a team that was more likely to be picking 4th than 2nd is picking 4th. That's not shocking either. Why is that so shocking? Because you haven't sat down and actually looked at the statistics. Really quick, let's look at it. Let's really quick. I want to do this because some people are really upset, but you're just not looking at it. This is literally the way the NBA draft lottery is made up. And by the way, I think this system, it kind of has some pros and some cons, honestly, but I would get rid of it. To me, the worst team should get the best pick. That's it to me, period. But just look at these numbers, people. Look at these numbers. Go to Wikipedia yourself and look at it, and actually do some data analysis, some mathematical, logical, critical thinking, and you'll see, wait a minute, this makes sense. It makes sense that the Suns, since they had a 32% chance of picking fourth, that they're picking fourth. It makes sense that since the Lakers were the second, or they had just as likely a chance to pick second as third, that they're picking third. That makes sense. The one thing that happened today that went against what the probabilities would have suggested is that the Kings vaulting up to the third position. Okay, that was unlikely. Okay, but who did that help? It helped the damn 76ers more than anyone. So that's it. I mean, that's literally it. Because the Kings had what is this, a 3.9% chance of picking third, and they picked third. That is the thing that happened today that was really unlikely that happened. Other than that, this 2017 NBA draft lottery was not that shocking. And people are going to say, oh, it's so rigged, it's so this, it's so that. Look at the damn probabilities and actually understand this stuff. It's not that hard. It's not that hard to understand. The Lakers were just as likely to pick second and third, and they're picking second. That's it. The Suns had a 32% chance of picking fourth. They're picking fourth. This was the likeliest outcome, actually, for the Suns. For the Lakers, it was one of the likelier outcomes. So, yeah, I mean, that's it. That's just something I have to say about that. What are people saying in the chat? Whew. I'm not really that up. I mean, I'm a little upset because people really don't understand these probabilities. They really don't even look at them. They don't even understand them. You know, like people don't even understand, actually. You know how unlikely it was for the Celtics to actually be picking first? That was actually really unlikely. I still can't even believe that happened. I was willing to bet that they weren't going to pick first today. That was a statistic anomaly. For the third straight year, the team that was likeliest to win the lottery won the lottery. That's the most surprising thing today. That and the Kings vaulting up to the third pick, but that pick is now transferred to the 76ers. If you want to look at surprising things, shocking things, those are the things. The fact that, for the third straight year, a team with a 25% chance to win the lottery won the lottery. The chance of that happening is about 5%, probably even less than that. Now that I think about it, probably more like 2%, 2.5%, roughly. I have to do my math on that, but it's about that. It may be probably about 2.5%. So the odds of that happening was really low, and that's happened. So I'll bet next year that it won't happen, but it could, because again, these probabilities, they're just so wonky. It's just these percentages are so low. Think about how low these percentages are. We're not even talking 50% or higher. We're always talking at most 32% for anything to happen. 35% actually. I think that's the highest probability throughout the entire draft lottery. And by the way, whenever a team is picking first, like the Celtics were picking first, what was their likeliest outcome, right? It's not picking first, right? Because they have a 25% chance of picking first. You want to know what their likeliest outcome is? The actual likeliest outcome for any team picking fourth picking first, I should say, with the highest chance, the worst team. You know what the highest or the likeliest option for that team is? Picking fourth. That's the likeliest outcome. A team with the worst record only has a 25% chance of winning the lottery, but they have a 35.7% chance of picking fourth. That's why it actually wasn't shocking when the Knicks went from the worst team, having the worst record, to only picking fourth, because any team with the worst record is most likely to be picking fourth, or not most likely, but it is likelier to be picking fourth than any other position. But with that said, even that's not likely because it's under 50%. So you have to consider this, people. You don't actually look at this crap. You don't actually consider this. What do these numbers mean? I don't understand why people don't actually look at these numbers, look at what they mean, and just try to, it's like y'all never took math or something. Y'all didn't take statistics or probability or any of that. Whatever you talked about, you just didn't pay attention. A team with the worst record is always more likely to be picking fourth than first. And they set it up that way to discourage teams from tanking. But the last couple of years, it has worked in their favor of these teams that have been tanking. And then, we went a 10-year period for a team with the worst record never having the number one pick. We went all the way from 2004 to 2014. Within that time period, a team with the worst record did not even pick first. I should say from 2005 to 2014. So anyway, that's it, okay? I'm not trying to bore people with this statistical analysis, but and this probability talk, but it's just people don't understand this. People do not understand the lottery. It's criminal how people do not understand it, and they want to complain. Oh, it's so rigged. Did you actually look at the numbers, look at the probabilities, and say, okay, the Lakers are just as likely to be picking second than they are third, than they are first. They pick second. There should be no shock to anyone in this world. The most shocking thing tonight was that the Sacramento Kings pick vaulted from probably what should have been, I want to say, I forgot now already. I already forgot. Like the 8th pick or something to the 3rd. That's the most shocking thing. Okay? And when that happened, y'all couldn't hear me, but I was going nuts because I was really afraid about the Lakers' chances of staying in the top 3, but luckily they did. So with that said, do you guys have any other questions? And did I say NFL? If I ever say NFL, I'm sorry. I'm still getting used to talking about the NBA again. You guys have any questions for me in the chat that I will answer really quickly? And I'm not watching the Warriors game, but I will be soon. But I want to make a Laker, draft lottery video. And then we will get out of here. Oh, and someone calculated it for me. Austin Gossett says the odds of the team with the worst record picking first 3 years in a row is only 1.5% chance. Yeah, so that's really unlikely. So that's one of the things today that is really shocking, that for the 3rd straight year, a team with the worst record won the lottery. That's the shocking thing. And that's why I was surprised. And I wasn't surprised, but I was not on board with going ahead and saying, the Celtics are going to win the lottery. Now, you were right. But that still wasn't supposed to happen. That was very unlikely for that to happen. Someone asked how long is Leonard out for. We'll see, but he's out for this game. Jaden Pina said, can I have a shout out? Shout out to Jaden Pina, or Pina, probably. Oruz Mine asks, who should the Nuggets draft? Nuggets are picking where again? Let me check the position. It should be like 13, 14. Yeah, about 13. I can't tell you right now. I haven't looked at the prospects enough to tell you right now. But continue to watch, and you'll know within a couple weeks. Jay asks, will the Lakers make a trade? We'll see. Honestly, I would be down to trade this pick for Paul George, in a package for Paul George. We'll have to hear the details on a potential trade. Like, will it involve D'Angelo Russell? Will it involve Brandon Ingram? Who will it involve? But I honestly think Paul George will be better, or is better than Lonzo Ball will ever be. That's my fear. And if this team would actually be smart and take Josh Jackson over Lonzo Ball, then I would actually not want to trade, because I'd want to see that out. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think Magic Johnson is in love with the prospect of taking Lonzo Ball. And it concerns me. I'm not that pissed about it because, again, I'm not really sure how much all of this really matters at the end of the day. I mean, you're still so unlikely to win the championship just building through the draft. You're going to have to bring in a big-time player anyway. So I feel like if they take Ball over Jackson and Jackson proves to be better, it probably won't even freaking matter. For example, who has been the better pro player, DeMarcus Cousins or John Wall? Now, I would say now probably DeMarcus Cousins, but it doesn't matter. Neither of them have won, and the Wizards are happy because Wall's been taking them to the playoffs. So they still stick with Wall, even though you can argue that DeMarcus Cousins has been the better player. And then I look at the Wiggins and the Karl-Anthony Towns of the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're not winning anything, these guys, right now. So it's nice to have another young player, another good player, but you still have so much work to do. So even if we make the mistake of passing on Jackson for Ball, I still don't even think it'll matter that much because ultimately we will just have to bring in a star anyway. And who's going to be that guy, I'm not sure. Now, I prefer to draft that star, but whoever we draft probably won't be a star until 3 years at least. So, it's an issue. It's an overall problem. Yeah. So, I mean, like, you can look back and regret some stuff. Like, for example, Laker fans, they regret passing on Kristaps Porzingis. But if we really had Porzingis, how much better would we be right now? Just a little bit. Just a little bit better. We still would not be on track to win an NBA championship. We still have so much work to do, even with Porzingis. Look at the Knicks. They have Porzingis, and they can't even win. So you can they're probably going to make the mistake, and it's going to suck, but it's not like it's going to be the end of the day to me. Unless if Jackson proves to be like Dwayne Wade. At that point, we're screwed, okay? And I'll be pissed. Yeah, look at this number 2 pick club, man. This is crazy. The Lakers having the number 2 pick 3 times in a row. I'll tell you that right now. Now, that was unlikely. That was a very unlikely thing to happen. But it happened. Someone asked for a 24-hour live stream. Y'all are nuts. I can't believe people actually do that. Maybe if some of y'all were able to like donate to this, and I'd have to get paid a good amount to do that, and I still may not even do that. Shadow Kid Gaming asks, MJ, could you please give us your top 5 teams that will be championship teams in 4 to 5 years? 4 to 5 years it's such a wonky projection. The fact that think about 5 years ago, what the hell is going on in the NBA? The Heat had not even won yet 5 years from this moment. 5 years from 1 month from now, they will have won. So the Heat had not even won a championship yet. 5 years ago, LeBron James did not even have an NBA title. So ask him what's going to happen 5 years from now. Who the hell knows? Okay, I understand the question. I understand why you want to know, but we really just don't know. Because think about it again 5 years ago. The Warriors weren't anything close to what they are now. The Rockets were a completely different team than what they are now. They didn't have James Harden. They didn't have Trevor Ariza. They didn't have anyone that they have now. They didn't have anyone that they have now. 5 years ago, the Thunder had Harden, Durant, and Westbrook. 5 years ago, the damn Chicago Bulls were damn good with Derrick Rose, and now Rose is, he should be out of the league soon, man. This guy's knees can't hold up. Joakim Noah's pretty much out of the league. Luol Deng stinks. The whole team's been dismantled in 5 years. So I think projecting anything 4 to 5 years down the road is foolish. But I will tell you this. I like the Sixers and the roster that they're building. The Lakers, I really want to like, but man, because they're going to take Ball, I'm really concerned about this, man. Now we're really, I think, relying on, getting a Paul George or someone in here, or Brandon Ingram pops off. And I hope he pops off, but, Ball will not be that 25-point per game guy. No chance. He's not going to score 20 points per game. And we still need that guy. Russell only averaged 15 last season. Only 15. Now, you could say, he averaged like 19 per 40 minutes. And maybe if Luke Walton played him more, he could average like 17. But, I mean, come on, man. We have work to do. We still have to find – here's my question. Okay, whenever you look at these NBA championship teams, right, you look at the Miami Heat when they won it. You look at the Lakers when they won it, the 2 periods in which they won it. And same goes with the Heat. Who were the guys? Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James. Who is going to be our Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant? Who? You need to find that guy, period. Paul George, I like. He's not going to be that guy. Josh Jackson could. I would have liked Markelle Fultz, but he's out of reach now, and that's fine. You roll the dice and you lose. That's fine. So we'll see. But I don't think – first of all, not that I don't think. There's no chance. Whenever we're talking about the NBA draft, rarely do I say there's not a chance, but there is literally no chance that Lonzo Ball ever averages more than 24. There is literally zero chance. He's just not that guy, period. Okay? Period. That's it. End of discussion. He's just not that guy, period. Rarely can I ever say that as it pertains to the NBA draft or the NFL draft, that someone will never be something. But I can clearly say Lonzo Ball will never average more than 23, and period. Now, I will predict he will never average more than 20, but I could see him doing that. I could see that. I literally cannot see any realm or any dimension in which Lonzo Ball does that. It does not exist. It literally does not exist. It's 2 divided by 0. It doesn't exist. It does not exist. The realm does not exist. You'll be looking for that realm for the rest of your life. You can have a computer running simulations for the rest of eternity, and not one simulation would produce a scenario in which Lonzo Ball would average more than 23 points per game. Now, 20, there would be some. I will predict, though, that still wouldn't happen. I'd only put a percentage chance of that happening at about 10%. So I'm not interested in that. I mean, again, he'll be good. Let me be clear. He'll be good. He'll be decently better than Rajon Rondo was. Okay? And he'll actually stay on his entire team, unlike Rajon Rondo. But he's not going to be the scorer that we still need. We still need that guy. And I'll talk about this more in my Laker video. Nick Diamond asks, who's better, Fox or Ball? I will say Ball over Fox, because Fox still doesn't have an outside shot. If Fox had an outside shot, I'd talk. And with that said, though, Fox could end up being better than Ball easily. But I'd still say, I'd say Fox. Yeah, I need. I'll make some scouting reports on these guys because some people want to know my thoughts on De'Aaron Fox. I'll make scouting reports on this guy, but I'll tell you right now, the things that concern me about Fox. First of all, let me tell you his positives. So he's very good at driving, very good, right? He's much better than Lonzo at driving and scoring in general. He looks to score. He has alpha dog in him. I love that. Defensively, he has some nice intensity, wiry frame, but I don't really care about that. Has nice length at 6'4", and a lengthy 6'4", so I like that. But his shooting is just so poor. And who's a point guard that in today's NBA gets away with that? That's my real concern, and it's really bad. Like, John Wall has improved his 3-point percentage. Like, there was one year John Wall averaged less than 10% 3-point percentage. Okay, De'Aaron Fox could go down that road, but I saw more upside with Wall, and he was a better 3-point shooter coming out. I think I'd have to check that. So that's what concerns me. But I think maybe if I really need to. This is what I need to when it comes to De'Aaron Fox. I really want to sit down and just look for, comparisons and more data to try to indicate what kind of player he could be in the NBA. Right now, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, here you go. John Wall shot 32.5% from 3 in college. De'Aaron Fox shot 24.6. Man, that just concerns the hell out of me. Can you have success in this league without shooting the 3? I mean, that's just so difficult, man. And he's just bad at it right now. 24.6%, the college 3. We're not even talking about the NBA 3. The college 3. So what does that translate to? A 20%, maybe even below 20% 3-point shooter in the NBA? I mean, that's invaluable. I mean, not invaluable. That's, I should say, non-valuable. I mean, that's just, it's not good at all. And my God, by the way, for those of you that don't know what's going on, the Warriors are kicking the Spurs' asses right now. It's 62-35 in the middle of the second quarter. My goodness gracious. So that series is in trouble, especially with Kawhi Leonard being out, man. That's just, it's a damn shame, but it's a damn truth. So let me look real quick just to the statistics of the NBA. Let me see who are the poor 3-point shooters in the NBA right now at the point guard position, man. There's not many. You know, and a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo, he can get away without shooting the three because he's freaking 6'9", 6'10". He has long ass arms. He's like a 7'4", 7'5" wingspan. That's not De'Aaron Fox. So his upside's limited without the 3-point shooting ability. And look at all these point guards. I'm looking at all these point guards, and almost all of them shoot over 40%. Not all of them, but a good amount of them shoot over 40% from three. Russell Westbrook only shot 26. But Russell Westbrook is so explosive at the rim. Fox isn't that explosive. He's just good at finishing, but he's not explosive. Not going to posterize anybody. Curry shot 41%. Lillard shot 28, which isn't great. Wall shot 34. Isaiah Thomas 34. Chris Paul 36. Mike Conley 44. Schroeder 42. Wow. Oh, this is in the playoffs. Sorry. Okay, yeah, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I thought he averaged less than that. That was in the playoffs. Let's look at the regular season. Okay, now here we go. Russell Westbrook shot 34. Isaiah Thomas 37. Damian Lillard 37. Steph Curry 41. Kyrie Irving 40. Kemba Walker 39. John Wall 32. Kyle Lowry 41. Eric Bledsoe 33. Mike Conley 40. Goran Dragic 40. Chris Paul 40. Derrick Rose 21. So you can look at Derrick Rose, actually. Yeah, that's Derrick Rose. Okay, so this is a guy that never shot the three well, ever. But he was explosive at the rim. De'Aaron Fox isn't explosive at the rim. So that would be why I'd stop that discussion. And Derrick Rose hasn't ended up being very good. But, you know, you could argue mainly due to injuries more than anything else. But that's what concerns when it comes to De'Aaron Fox. Can you really be valuable in the NBA now without shooting the three well at all? I mean, he's gonna hover in the 20% for his entire career, maybe at least early in his career for at least the first 2 years, and then from there we'll see if he can develop. But I mean, that's just gonna be the case, and that concerns the hell out of me. That really concerns the hell out of me. Okay, I'll probably answer like one more question, and then that shall be it. Again, sorry for that debacle. That was my live coverage of the NBA draft lottery. Man, it ended up being pretty bad, but what is this girl talking about? I actually have a woman in this chat. That's the first time. That doesn't happen. What's a good question to end out on? Yeah, okay. Someone asked, this may not be the last one, but again, someone asked, is Fox comparable to Wall? I'd like to compare to John Wall. I'd like to compare him to also, what's that guy's name I was just talking about? Derrick Rose, but he's not that explosive at the rim like these guys. These guys are explosive, man. Woof. They're explosive leapers. But Wall is actually close, actually. Okay, Wall, now that I think about it, Wall, he's explosive, but maybe Fox, I think I'm underselling Fox's explosiveness just a little bit. He's not like Lonzo. Well, Lonzo's decently explosive, he's just not explosive when facing contact. There is a path for Fox's success. It has to follow John Wall's success, but Fox also, I forgot to mention this. He's not a very good passer. He's not a very good pure point guard at all, actually. He is a scoring guard, which, you know, you can use, and that'd be great. But, man, there are so many times where, dude, you got to pass the ball out to open men, and he doesn't see people. His vision is not that good. He just, like, gets his head down, and he's going to the rim, and he just does not see people. And that's really something that concerns me when it comes to De'Aaron Fox. When I look at his game, especially that game against UCLA, and he scored 39, and that's great, but I just saw plenty of opportunities for him to pass the ball out, and he didn't do it, and that concerns the hell out of me. Really, because, yeah, I'm not in love with his core vision. I think he needs to find open shooters more often. He doesn't do it often enough for me, and that's my big problem with him. Someone asked, will the Celtics trade the pick? You know, I don't know. They could. If I were them, I wouldn't. I'm going to bet on Markelle Fultz's long-term potential over Paul George at this point. I really like Paul George, but Fultz, you still have how many years of Fultz, dude? You could still have like 12, like really good years out of Markelle Fultz over Paul George, who is not old. I mean, what is he, like 25 at this point? Let me check his age real quick. Paul George is 27. Yeah, no, I'm taking a 19-year-old Markelle Fultz, dog. Give me that. Give me 8+ years. Give me 8 years of difference there. I'll take that today, tomorrow, the next day before I take Paul George. Honestly, I wouldn't trade it straight up. I'd rather have Markelle Fultz because I think that's more valuable because you're talking about having 8 years of this guy over 8 years of that guy, and then this guy is going to continue to trend up while Paul George is going to trend even and then down. So I wouldn't trade it. I'd keep that. The only reason I'm considering it for the Lakers is I think there's a sizable step down from Markelle Fultz, and because I know they're going to take freaking Lonzo Ball, and he's not going to be what they think he's going to be. All right. So with that said, that's going to end this live stream. Thank you guys for checking out my live post analysis of the 2017 NBA Draft Lottery. If you're new to this channel, subscribe for more NBA draft coverage, for more sports coverage. This is Sports Fan Entertainment, a channel in which we cover the NFL, the NBA, and some other sports as well. We provide great content, so I'd really appreciate if you subscribe. Twitter, follow me on Twitter at the MJ Take. Real quick, also Instagram. There's a new Instagram for Sports Fan Entertainment. Head to Instagram.com/sportsfanentertainment. Okay, follow us on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter at the MJ Take. And I'm gonna have some more NBA draft videos coming out very soon. So subscribe if you haven't already. This has been a lot of fun. Next year, I'll make sure that my stream does not pretty much die in the middle of the damn draft lottery. Thank y'all for checking me out. And until next time, I'm out. Peace.